tonight on Unity News.
You can turn on the news, and I don't watch much news anymore.
Except Unity News.
Yes, yeah, you have to watch Israel because it says towards the end of time that these countries will rise up. When you see Israel encompassed with armies, look up.
Only on Unity News.
Hello, I'm Danny Ellis, and welcome to the July 2025 episode of Unity News. Welcome back. We have tonight Jason and Shauntae. Shauntae, I do that every time.
That's okay.
I'm
You're not the only one.
Hampton, the Hamptons are with us again tonight. Guys, welcome.
Thank you.
It's good to have y'all. So we were actually going to have you on in June, but we had some other news that we had to cover. And this show is pre-recorded a little early for the July episode. So there may be some national events we're going to talk about tonight that only the Lord knows what's going to happen. So, but we're still going to cover it because Israel's still going to be here. We know that.
Right.
So, but before we get into that, we've not had a chance, and our viewers have not had a chance to talk about your big surprise in the last episode. And maybe you can kind of give some info about, it was, 2 weeks we had to keep that from him.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
He may or may not have known that.
I kept it a secret from most people for a whole week. You and Angie were like two of the only ones that really knew. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was hard, especially since I live with him. It was really hard.
I bet. And of course, we were trying to get that episode recorded, and KAIT was here, and they were in the back part of the Family Life Center. And, of course, people were in the hallways. We had the doors closed, and we were pre-recording the show. And Angie, myself, and you knew, but poor old Jason, he didn't know anything. And but he got a little suspicious. I think.
He did.
Can you tell? Won't you just tell us what was going through your mind before you walked out there and there was Diana Davis from Channel 8?
Yeah, so when I was sitting here, I seen a lot of people, and nobody hardly walks past the doors. And that's the first thing I noticed. I was like, man, there's a lot of traffic out there. So I kind of thought that there was something going on. I just didn't know what. And you guys were kind of in a rush that day. I remember we got to get this one over with in 45 minutes or so. And so when I walked out the door, I think Angie said, hey, let's go check out the new event center that was added on. And when the doors opened, I was like, wow, what's going on? My birthday's like 2 months from now. And I was like, it can't be my birthday. And I seen so many people, even, a lot of people that I worked with. And then I looked to the right and I seen Diana Davis and KIT and a lot of people from Region 8 News. And I thought, okay, I still didn't know what was going on.
You didn't at that point?
I did not know.
He had no clue.
Because I hadn't watched Great Acts of Kindness in, I don't know, it's been a while. Mm-hmm. So when she started talking and then it was unfolding, then I realized what it was. And yes, I was in total shock. I kind of still am, really.
Right.
I've said this before on the show that there's so many deserving people of something like that kind of award, just in Randolph County. Mm-hmm. When you look at, all the emergency personnel and what can I say? We live in the greatest part of the world. I wouldn't want to live nowhere else.
Right.
For me to get that, I was in shock, and I didn't know what to say. I was just kind of lost for words.
At what point did you kind of realize? Because Diana Davis gave a little spiel there,
Right.
And then she said, after her spiel, which was minutes, she said, "You are the next winner of the great." At any point before that, did you know what was going on or suspect before she used that phrase, "You are the next winner of the great acts of kindness"?
I wish I could say yes, but no, I did not.
You were stunned.
I was stunned. I did not know what was still happening.
We got it.
Yeah,
We got it. We got
it. We did good.
I was at a loss for words, and then when she started talking about Morgan, my heart got to pounding, and I tried my best to not lose it. But when you talk about her, and then she started talking about the things that we'd done through the garden and the scholarships and losing her, and I wanted to really lose it, but I kind of held it together.
You did good.
You did real good.
You did good.
But like I said, there's so many people that's deserving of that, and I didn't know what to say back to her. She probably thought, "Man, this guy's being kind of rude. He won't even talk to me." But, I was a little bit nervous. I was more stunned, and I was really, really inside of me emotional. And just like the interview, if you watched it when it aired, and she took me outside, and like the first question she asked me, she's like, "Tell me what you and Morgan's relationship was like." And I just started bawling. I was like, nobody's asked me that question, since the day that we lost her. And I didn't know how to respond. When I cried, she kind of got the answer right then. I started bawling, and she knew, you could tell right then what our relationship was like.
That answered it.
That answered it. Yeah, and, everything that I say me, but everything we do anymore is, with the garden and the scholarship. It's from that hurt, and you have to turn somewhere when things like that in life happens. You're gonna go one way or the other. I've said it. Everybody knows it. So we put on our Nikes and we started running to Jesus as fast as we could, because we knew that's where the healing was. We knew that's where the comfort was. At the time, we didn't know it, but we were wanting comfort, and I think I said it on the last show. We couldn't get it from our parents hugging us. We couldn't get it from friends, and you need that love and you need that comfort. But the comfort that we were needing was going to have to come from somewhere else, and only Jesus could do that. If somebody's out there watching the show right now, and they've lost a loved one, if they're down and out, if their family's falling apart, whatever it may be, just take off and run to Jesus, because right after the accident, I was so hurt and lost. Shauntae was too. I promised God a lot of things, but one of the main things I wanted from Him was comfort. And I remember I would go out on my deck every night when it got dark, and I would look up to the heavens, and I would raise my hand, and I would tell Jesus, I'd say, "Lord, I can't do this no more. I got to have, comfort. I need you. I need to feel your love. I don't know what to do with my life now. I'm totally lost." And I remember, I don't know if I said this on the show last time, but I remember, one time really distinctly, Shauntae and I was coming back from the graveyard, and we were bawling, and we were a bawling, crying mess, and I looked over at her, and she was, to say that she was ripped to shreds is an understatement.
Sure.
And I looked over at her, and for the first time, she looked over at me, and there was a song playing, and she started smiling, and I said, "Shauntae, are you feeling what I'm feeling right now?" And she smiled at me, and that was probably the first time I'd seen her smile since the accident. I don't know how many weeks But
Oh,
at
wow.
that time, we were just getting a tip of the iceberg of God's comfort during. I mean, the Bible says, God is closest to the brokenhearted. So if someone's out there and they're brokenhearted, if they've lost a loved one, if they need comfort, don't go for a bottle, don't go for a can. Right. Go after Jesus. And there's comfort there. You may not feel it right away, but if you just keep asking and seeking and praying, it's going to come sooner or later.
Right. So you went out and you raised your hands and you said, Lord, I'm lost. I need you. You were desperate. You were at, I guess, rock bottom of where you can be. And you asked the Lord. And how long before, and what did you feel after that? You noticed you were smiling and everything too, but how long, did you feel something immediately? Did you feel?
At times I did feel it immediately, but I forgot who told me this, but that she told me that grief will come in waves. It's like ocean waves, where it just comes down on you all at once and then it retreats and then here it comes again. So just to say when I felt it, I think I felt the comfort like ocean waves. I would feel it one moment and then in the next moment it would be like, where are you at, God? And, I need you again, please don't leave me.
Right.
But with all that being said, you feel, and a lot of people don't understand this, you feel God's love the most by his people. And so when we started going to our church in Doniphan, West Point, and people would surround us and they would lay their hands on us and pray over us and say things, I believe it with all my heart, God gives people that pray over you words to say that you need to hear at that time.
Right.
And that's the truth. And that's when we felt, and when we would leave church, it's like you just walked out of a counseling session with a doctor. You would feel the weight lifted. Shauntae would say something like, Jason, so-and-so prayed over me, and she said this, and I was asking God about this, and she told me the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I would do the same thing. And I think that's why it's so important. The two greatest commandments of all is to love God first and love each other. And the greatest sign of love that you can give somebody is when they're hurting, go over there and give them words of encouragement and ask them. It doesn't hurt to ask. The worst thing that can happen is them say, no, I don't want it. But say, hey, can I pray for you right now? Do you need prayer?
Right.
And if they're truly hurting and they're truly wanting some help, they're not going to deny that prayer.
They're not going
They're
to.
going to say, please, can you please pray for me?
If someone had come up to you, you kind of felt led that you knew what you both knew. We're going to turn to Jesus. We got to turn to Jesus. Were y'all looking for someone to come and say, hey, to do what you're talking about, come and give you words of encouragement and kind of steer you toward Christ? Or were they got people in your life that were already doing that?
I'll be honest, I don't remember a lot.
Right.
Especially the first 6-7 weeks, I was just a blur. Everything was a blur. I was in shock. I don't know. I mean, we had a lot of people praying for us and with us, but the fact that I was in such shock, I don't really know that it was registering to me. Not until, when Jason had spoke to me that time, when we went to eat at Jacksonville, when I was at the Mayo Clinic, and he, grabbed my hand and he said, just, listen to me, look at me. Let's just live for God. Let's seek God and we'll be able to survive this. And I think I said this the last time we were on here, if it had not been for that, I don't know where I would be today.
Right.
So my first person that led me really to Christ was my husband. My husband took my hand and led the way. And so I'm very thankful to him for that. I don't know that he ever knows how much he helped me.
Right.
because I really was in such a dark place that I only saw one way out.
Yeah.
And I was determined to make that happen.
Praise God.
But God,
Mm-hmm.
but God, He led us where we were supposed to be, and I got my answers, and I wanted proof that He was real, and He showed me how real and how big He really is that
That's
day.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the garden. You've been busy, I guess, and
Covered up.
covered up.
Yes. So, yeah, it kind of hits you all at once. I was telling Shauntae just like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I would always tell her, say, hey, if we're going to go do something or if we're going to get out of town, we need to do it now because, in a couple weeks, I'm going to be covered up. And it's been so, it's been so rainy and wet, and it's been great garden weather. I had to water my garden like one time this year. And it just took off, and it's been amazing so far. The people that's come out, I would put, in the past few weeks, I've loaded that stand down as much veggies could go on it. And it's most days it don't last past noon or 1 o'clock, and it's totally gone.
Wow.
And it's part of living in Randolph County. Like I said earlier, people give, beyond measure. They just keep giving and giving. They leave more money than them veggies will ever be worth. But every time they put a $10 bill in there, they know what it's going to, and I'm so thankful for it. And we've went and got peaches and watermelon and cantaloupes about to come up, and it's like I said, it's super, super busy for about 5 or 6 weeks, and then it'll tone down. But I enjoy it, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I know that when we get to stand up there next year and give that money away, and we get to say Morgan Hampton's name.
That's right.
And do it'll all be worth it times 10.
Right. Man, that's fantastic. And I think you and I were kind of kidding this past week about, I said, Jason, make the rain stop. And I just said, you're just liking it so much because it's saving on your water bill, but that was a joke.
It really has, though.
But it has. Blessings
Yeah.
come. But I've seen your irrigation system on your corn.
Yeah.
That's almost state of the art. I mean, it's really cool.
It's really, really, really nice. It's, it waters the whole garden. I just turn it on, and it makes it so convenient because that garden is really, really big now. So, past several years, we'd have a $300, $400, $500 water bill, and I was moving, the watering system around, and it was a lot of time and trouble. And this little deal didn't cost hardly anything, and I told her, I was like, I'm going to try it out. And I've had a lot of garden buddies that said, man, you need to do this, you need to invest in this. And it's made it so much easier.
So you installed that. You got where'd you get most of your piping and your stuff? Was it a kit?
Yes, it was a kit. It was a kit, and it's from a company called Morgan County Seed. I think it's Morgan County Seed Company. Yeah, so it's just a little kit, and it all comes with everything.
Okay.
And it's cheap. I mean, I can do a really, really large garden, and it's like a little over $200. So,
okay.
And you can use it year after year and order the different things. And something else that just come to my mind, I'm in the middle of pickling.
Yeah,
so
I've seen that being advertised on Facebook as well. So.
Yeah, we've done I don't know, 300 jars or better.
A lot. I don't have a dining room table right now.
The whole kitchen is full of pickles.
Wow.
So come get your pickles.
Well, let's talk about Israel a little bit. As I said at the beginning of the show, we pre-recorded this, and at the time of this recording, things were really, really happening, and we weren't sure at the time of this recording what kind of involvement the United States was going to have. There's been a lot of saber rattling, and I think the headline today was Trump has looked at the plans, decided on the plans, but has not given the order yet.
Right.
But let's talk about the importance, Jason, about Israel. Why is Israel, for our viewers, why is Israel so important that we support Israel?
Well, as we all know, Israel is God's chosen people.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when you look at the Bible and you look at prophecy, everything's based out on Israel. And if someone's ever doubted Jesus, ever doubted God, ever doubted the Bible, you take a country the size of New Jersey and you throw it in the middle of country after country after country, surround it full of Muslim countries,
Mm-hmm.
and watch it survive for as long as it has. And you can't tell me it's not being protected by something.
That's right.
The Bible, and when you talk about prophecy and you look at the book of Revelation, it says that it's going to be protected by eagle's wings. A lot of prophecy, it relates to animals, as countries like Russia's the bear, and different, when it talks about United States, it talks about the eagle's wings. But you have to watch Israel, because it says towards the end of time that these countries will rise up against Israel, like Russia and China and Turkey and Iran. Mm-hmm. And it says, when you see Israel encompassed with armies, look up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's your sign right there. When all these countries start rising against Israel, I believe that the Bible teaches that Israel will be a wasteland, basically, right before Jesus comes back. Mm-hmm. Because he says in Matthew 24, his exact words is, hey, when you see the abomination of desolation, that's when more or less the Antichrist stands in the third temple. Mm-hmm. He says right then, get out. You that are in, and a lot of people believe this is older stuff, but I believe this is stuff it's going to come. Mm-hmm. It says, you in Judea, get out. Don't go after your clothes. Get out of there. And I believe that, that's why you watch it.
Right.
There's so many countries that they want to see Israel just wiped off the face of the earth. And Iran is one of them.
Yes.
And they're just bomb after bomb after bomb. And, Mr. Trump's already said it. He's like, look, we're not, and Netanyahu, they both said it. We're not going to let you get a nuclear warhead when the only thing you've said the past 100 years is you want to see us all die.
Right.
So what their ultimate goal is to get a nuclear warhead.
Death to Israel, death to America. That's what their
logo.
And they have called for the destruction of Israel. Well, you can't sit around and let them try it.
No, you've got to do something.
And Israel's fully within their rights. And it looks like this kind of reminds me. This is way before any of us were born, but the 6 Day War in 6 days.
Right.
Well, it's been 6 days. I mean, but they have complete control of Iran's airspace.
Yeah.
Everything. The number of missiles that are coming in has been greatly reduced. It's just amazing. And if you can't, look, it's taken 3 years for Russia, the second most powerful military in the world, to try to defeat Ukraine. And then look what's happened with Israel. Little tiny Israel, like you said, New Jersey. And Iran's the size bigger than Alaska. Well, it doesn't take a brain scientist to really realize that there is something going on here.
Right.
That God's chosen people have been able to do this. Right. And so I think you're really onto something. Share with our viewers a little bit more about some of prophecy, and maybe not necessarily all entirely about Israel, but what do you feel like is to come, before the end of time, for people that may not really understand it, and stress the importance, if you would, of people taking that seriously and really looking at that, because it's, we need to know if you want to know what's going to happen, you don't need to go get a crystal ball or, any of the supernatural stuff. It's right there. It's written in God's Word.
That's right. And so many people, when you look at prophecy, they want to get scared. Mm-hmm. And then the ones that are not scared, they want to play it off and say, well, haven't you read the Bible? It says plain as day that no man knows the hour or day. But, if you read on, what does it say? it says, but not all. Nobody knows the hour or the day, but you will know when it's getting close. That's Jesus' words himself. He says it like this. He says, if you knew a thief was coming into your house, would you just ignore it, or would you plan accordingly? You would watch for that thief, and that's what he describes himself. I will come like a thief in the night. But he lays everything out perfectly. When the apostles asked him, they said, what are the signs of your coming? What do we need to expect? They didn't know it was not going to be for them, but he tells you plainly the things that are going to happen. He talks about how he says it'll be the same way as the days of Noah.
Yep.
He says that people will be easily offended. He says that there'll be one of the main things is the natural disasters and the increase in natural disasters and things like that.
Wars and rumors of wars.
Wars and rumors of wars. He says iniquity shall be abound. Immoral things, and I mean you can't. If you've got a checklist and you're checking it off,
right?
I mean, you can check off one after another, and one of the biggest prophecies in the whole Bible is the fig tree prophecy. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Explain that one to our viewers. I'm familiar with it, but
okay. I wish I had my. You can bring that up if you want. Look it up on Matthew 24.
Matthew 24.
Right here, but. Yeah, so he goes into a fig tree prophecy, and he says, when you see the budding of the fig tree, that generation shall not pass away. So everyone refers to the fig tree as Israel, and Israel was founded in 1948. And so however you look at a generation, so in the Bible it says in Psalms, I'm not exactly, you can look this up, but it says that a generation is 70 to 80 years. So if you even put 80 years onto 1948, what is that going to be? Yeah, I mean, I'm not pointing dates here. I'm just saying what the Bible says. That's going to put you at 2028 if you just go 80 years. Some people look at a generation as the first person or the last person that was born when Israel became a nation. So like I said, 1948. And he says that generation shall not pass until all these things, when he says all these things, that's everything he was talking about in Matthew 24 are fulfilled. So, I mean, if you look at just that big prophecy alone, that should tell you how close we are. It could be tonight, it could be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I don't feel like it's going to be 15 or 20 years from now. But, I think most people in their spirit would agree that they believe that if you have a heartbeat now and you're going to live 10 or 15 years, that there's a good possibility you're going to see the second coming of Jesus. Right.
Well, the thing is, he tells us all that because he tells us to be ready.
Yes, that's the most important thing. Be ready. That's why he references the thief. Be ready. He says, be sober, be ready, because then that's when he starts talking about it. Would you not be ready if you knew a thief was coming? And like I said, a lot of people also, they'll say, well, they've been saying that for years. Well, that's a prophecy of its own, because it says in the last days there'll be scoffers, right, saying, where is he at? You've been saying this for years. But
is he in the desert?
Exactly. But you can turn on the news, and I don't watch much news anymore, but you can turn on the news and you can see the iniquity.
Except Unity News.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You can see the iniquity abound. You can see the easily offended. You can see, you can see wars and rumors of wars. You can see it all. You can see diseases, just like, COVID and all these different diseases coming up. It's exactly the way he said it was going to be right before his coming. Go ahead.
I was just going to say.
No, I was just saying he would, and he says just like the days of Noah. What was it like during the days of Noah? Well, if you read, then you know that it was about like it is now.
Did you ever get a chance to visit much with Dr. Dennis Hope before he went home to be with Jesus.
I did not.
I mean, we had a lot of conversations with that too. That was before Unity News was even around. But you remind me a lot of him because a lot of the things you're saying, he was saying the same things.
Yeah.
You know, and
if it happens 5 years from now,
Yeah.
I'm not a told you so guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
Right.
telling you what the Bible says.
So what does the Bible say?
It's just like the mark of the beast technology. You know, it's here today. You know, no time in history were you able to. You know, we've seen chips and digital currency unfolding and stuff like that. But, you know, if you rewind 30, 40, 50 years ago,
Right.
it wasn't here. The technology wasn't here.
Right.
But we get accustomed to it. You know, that's what I tell everybody. Well, you know, when's the last time you used cash? You know, everybody, it went from cash to check
The credit
to
card.
credit cards and debit cards. And now it's going where? To your phone. I mean, and they're already taking the penny away. But,
Right. Might be taking the nickel away,
right.
too. I think I saw a news report on that as well.
You can, you know, put a chip in somebody today. You couldn't do that, you know, 20 or 30 years ago and keep track of things, you know.
Right.
It's the technology that you're looking at.
Exactly. What do we need to do to be ready? What do we need to do? You know, Jesus tells us to be ready.
Yeah.
And you know, as a thief in the night, what do we need to do to be ready?
You know, when someone asks that question, I think they look for an answer like stock up on water, get canned goods.
No, yeah. You know
like
what I'm
that.
asking, though.
But
Yeah.
My answer would be to give your life to Jesus Christ. That's the only way to be ready. Whatever comes your way in life, whatever comes your way in prophecy, whatever comes you know, if China takes this country over tomorrow, whatever comes our way,
Right.
be ready. Be ready to go. We live in a world where we focus on this world. You know, focus on the eternal world because that's how you're preparing yourself, right? Don't prepare yourself for this world. Be happy in this world.
Right.
You know, spread love in this world. But the most important thing is to give your life to Jesus Christ.
Right. That is exactly right.
And that takes the fear away.
It does take the fear away because you're ready.
Because
you're ready.
No matter what
when
comes
he
your
returns.
way.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. If our viewers would like to have more information about how to be ready, how to give your life to Christ, reach out to us here at Unity News. The producer's putting that on the bottom of the screen right now. Shoot us an email, or you know, even visit with Jason and Shauntae.
Yeah, we'd be glad to. I think we're going to start doing Bible studies at our house really soon.
That's fantastic.
And you know, I think there needs to be a sense of urgency. I really.
Oh, there
do.
definitely does.
I don't think there should be a sense of fear or panic.
No fear.
But urgency. You know, pray for your family. Pray for your friends, and say, Lord, I don't have the words to get them to you.
Right.
Only if you give them to me.
Right.
You know, give me the words I need to say. You can't come at somebody and say, I got to have you, you know, only he can give me the words to get the people I love to church.
That's right.
To Jesus.
That's exactly right, you know. And we've got to be ready, and you're preaching to the choir. You really are. So, Jason, Shauntae, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on this show. Can we see you back maybe next fall? This fall, if Jesus hadn't come back yet. We'll see you out there.
If Jesus hasn't come back and the deer are not in rut, I'll be here.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us for this July episode of Unity News. Unity News is going to step down for the fall, until the fall. We're going to step back for the summer until the fall. And then we've got a lot of stuff going on with Unity News, and you probably noticed it with the new intro, and you're going to be seeing a lot more things happening, great things coming up, and things like you guys and your testimonies and your preaching the word. That's good, because I still want to get to a point. I want to talk more about Current River more when it's not full of water from all the rain and everything. Anything y'all want to add tonight?
Not me.
Okay.
Not right now, anyway.
Okay. Well, join us again for the next episode of Unity News. Until then, God bless and goodbye.